What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video on what if Deku was the reincarnation of Arnos Voldigoad. Sorry guys, my throat's still been hurting. It's been hurting for the last couple of days. I should probably go check that out pretty soon. But before we do anything else, let's shout out people that have joined. Only 2 people have joined. Thank you, BU and Zero Kill 2425. And that's all, and let's jump straight into this what if. Now, where we last left off, Izuku was laying down in his bed. He started to stir as vivid images flashed in his head. He started to see multiple different things. 2 girls that he didn't remember, another girl that apparently he had met, and Ivys. He knew Ivys because Ivys was one of the 9 demon lords, but Ivys looked different. He saw Ivys chant a spell on towards him, and then everything went black. When Izuku reopened his eyes, he looked around and saw that his room looked massively different, almost like he was in a new room entirely. Izuku was very confused at first. He looked around and couldn't see anyone that he recognized. He saw posters of a man smiling at him, but Izuku didn't know who this man was. Arnos then looked around more, as more images started to flash in his head. There were people that he recognized as Uraraka, as well as some other personnel, but these people looked completely different, or were wearing weird clothing compared to the personnel that he had seen. This very much so confused Izuku. Before he started to remember what happened prior hand before Ivys had, well, let's just say, gotten rid of him, because now that Izuku remembered what happened, he started to feel rather upset. Izuku remembered Ivys stating something about fusing his soul with someone else of another world, and then teleporting him through time after he fused with that stupid god of time. This confused Arnos greatly. As he slowly started to remember more and more personnel, the 2 girls were Misha and Sasha, if he remembered correctly. Arnos eventually compiled that what he was recently viewing was a fusion of the boys' memories of who he now currently is in, well, possession of the body of, as well as his own. This would make sense why Arnos looks so weird after becoming reincarnated, because that wasn't his reincarnation. That was him, well, mending souls together with this boy, Izuku Midoriya. And now he understands why he so easily took the name Izuku Midoriya. Arnos sighed outside of his nose, realizing that this was an issue. He also realized that there was a clock nearby. The clock looking vastly different than most clocks he had seen prior. It looked more advanced, almost like a clock that he had seen in the future. Arnos saw that the time had listed that it was about around 5 a.m. in the morning, so he decided to get up. He first wanted to see if he could still perform any magic inside this world, seeing how he did not know the contents of the world itself. Much to his surprise, he was still able to perform magic, but he also found that his basic capabilities were actually vastly different. It seemed like his soul had been once again locked down by 10. Which kind of upsetted Arnos, because he was already at only being able to use 10% of his power. Now he can only use 10% of 10% of his power. Arnos found this kind of annoying and knew that eventually with time he should be able to release his steal on his power, or worst case scenario, he just resurrects himself, which will allow him to access his power again. Arnos got up and walked outside. He had looked around and saw that the sun was slowly starting to rise, and was kind of confused. Memories started to dash around in his head. He realized that the girls that had replaced Sasha and Misha in his memories were Uraraka and Momo. Both of these girls seemed to be somewhat connected to this dude. Uraraka much more than Momo, but both of them seemed to have somewhat of a tie to this man. He also started to see that more personnel from his weird redux of memories were also people from this world. He noticed that personnel like Ida, as Arnos thought the boy's name was actually a hero here. And Arnos also realized why it went from royal blood families to hero families, because this world apparently makes humans inspired to be heroes. Arnos also noticed that he wasn't a demon anymore. Well, he didn't have any portions of a demon inside of him. There were multiple spells he could do to try to assert back somewhat of his demonic capabilities, but he wasn't a demon at heart. He was now a human at heart, which kind of not upsetted Arnos, but brought him mild confusement and understanding, and also weakened his capabilities more. Eventually, Arnos decided to give up on the whole entire act of trying to resemblance a demon currently. Even though he could, it would probably take him a month or two before he could actually gain back enough power to do so. Full body and full source transformation magic was not something you can do with just the ease of a flick of a finger. Arnos knew this better than anyone else. Eventually, he realized that there was still class that he had to attend. It seemed like the Hero Academy bit came from the young boy as well. He seemed to be going to a Hero Academy. He's also seemed to just enroll recently. Much more capable of him enrolling about around yesterday or the day prior he had enrolled. This made Arnos, well, at least somewhat happy, because it meant that he could easily pass off as the boy, seeing how most of the students here didn't have the stronger connection to him. Except for a kid that Arnos saw. He had yellow hair, and apparently knew the boy from a very young age. Arnos will find this slightly more difficult to deal with, so he thought about his actions very carefully. For the time being, he would assume the boy's identity. Only partially, though. He won't try to act like the boy, and if anyone actually questions about it, he'll claim that he actually is not the boy. You'd never seen the yellow man's... Well, he wasn't really yellow now that Arnos thinks about it. It was probably the lighting. The man's face that was all over Izuku's room. And realized that that man was probably had some sort of a correlation to young Izuku. Eventually, after looking throughout Izuku's memories, Arnos noticed that this man was apparently much more of a father-style figure to the young boy, and decided he would talk more with this man for the time being. Eventually, Arnos, using search magic, was able to pretty easily find where the man was. Much to Arnos' dismay, he seemed to be in some sort of teacher lounge area, which was a resident issue if Arnos wanted to go talk to him in private. The clock was about to hit 12, and thanks to remembering things that Izuku had in his mind, Arnos remembered that they were doing some sort of hero versus villains test today, which seemed to mainly be incorporated by the teacher himself. Arnos decided that he would wait for then, and just keep relatively quiet throughout the day, observing his classmates. He could pick up a few things every now and then from the pure fact that Izuku had, well, known his classmates. Not known them too much, but known them enough. Eventually, Arnos ended up entering the class. He entered on time, not too early, but not too late. Eventually, he sat down in a seat where a person now was looking at him kind of funny. This person had yellow hair, which Arnos remembered from looking through Deku's memories to get to know the kid that he had accidentally taken the life of. Well, not really taken. He could maybe separate their source energies now, but it would be way more difficult than if he were to just do it regularly. As Bakugo, Arnos knew that he was eventually going to have to go deal with time again, because that was the only feasible way he could see out of this mess. The boy itself wasn't a bad kid at all, much to the contrary. He was actually probably a very good kid, and could possibly be a well-known person. He eventually ended up sitting down and waiting. Eventually the class started as he saw the man enter the room again. This man's name was All Might, as he had become to remember, and remembered that All Might seemed to have a weaker form that was generally concealed and not known by the general public. And he also knew that he could not disclose this information, thankfully, thanks to the memories. He thanked the kid for helping him out so much, and hoped that whenever he releases the kid's body, that the kid can talk and live a pretty good life. Even though he had kind of abruptly skipped into it mid-part of the way. Eventually, Arnos decided to wait out until time. The man explained everything that was going on, and explained how he would be doing more work, and that they would be going against each other in two-man teams while one team defended a bomb. And while the other team tried to capture the bomb, the one team would be villains while the other team would be heroes. Arnos found this pretty weird, to say the least, and found it that the base aspect of defending a bomb was kind of weird, especially compared to where he came from, where the main objective was to, well, defend a castle. Or at least back in the warring times, it was to defend a castle. Still seems like they taught the students to defend castles from what he could pick from his own memories of that time when he was there. Eventually, Arnos got a minute with All Might, and he called him over. Arnos said, All Might, I need to talk to you in private. This is a very serious discussion. All Might, realizing that Izuku was speaking kind of weird, thought the worst and instantaneously followed him into the back room, while the other students were confused. Arnos started to say, Hello, All Might. My name is Arnos Voldigoad. Currently, I've seemed to fuse with your protege's soul, and I need your assistance. All Might was drastically confused by what Izuku was talking about, and jokingly laughed it off, until Arnos ended up saying, No, sir, this is not a joke. I do need your assistance here. See, the issue here is that it appears that I have fused with your protege's soul. Now, this wouldn't tend to be a usual issue if I still had my basic body nearby, but I don't, thanks to the God of Time. All Might, still thinking Izuku was joking, looked at him curiously, especially because Izuku wasn't much of a kidder. All Might knew this, and started to put a serious look in his eyes. So, you're not Izuku? No, I'm Arnos Voldigoad, the Demon King. Now, you see, the issue here is that currently I possess Izuku. Now, see, I reincarnated in my world, which seems to be a different realm from this one. In my world where I reincarnated, I got killed by a God of Time. Now, the God of Time didn't kill me per se, it more like he sent me to a different realm, and this was the realm. And he forcibly fused me with your protege's soul. I did not have any control over the action that he took. That's why I'm trying to get back. Currently, I don't have even enough power to even do that. Currently only sitting at 1% of my max power. Why are you only sitting at 1%? Well, you see, it's more of an issue that once you get reincarnated, you only can use 10% of your power. And then afterwards, you can only use 1% of your power if you get reincarnated again. Now, you see, there is a way to break the chains and stuff and the seals that eliminate it, but that would cause me to affect the boy's body, which is something I do not want to do. So, currently, I'm going to have to replace the boy until I eventually can come up with a solution on how to fix it. It'll probably be time-related, seeing how this will probably be the safest option for not only me, but the boy himself. All Might was still kind of in awe just about what he was saying. He was easily explaining that his, protege was gone, and that he was currently replacing his protege, which was kind of like an issue. He was kind of shocked that it was there. Eventually, All Might understood that Izuku, or it's not Izuku, it was actually Arnos now was currently in control, and that there was not to his own decision. He has been a pretty good judge of character, and Arnos knew that. All Might knew that Arnos was not lying when he stated this. This kind of not really upsetted Arnos, but not Arnos, God. This kind of upsetted All Might, knowing that Arnos did not control or have a choice to be inside Izuku's body, but was forced there preactively against his own decisions. Also caused the issue to know that Izuku wasn't really there either. As Arnos said, their souls hadn't merged together, but then again, Arnos was the only one that was talking and seemed to be the only one in control. Now, this wouldn't generally be an issue if it wasn't for the pure fact that Arnos wasn't Izuku and couldn't be Izuku. Eventually, All Might just decided against even caring about it anymore, seeing how the issue itself could be relatively fixed as long as Arnos kept his word true. And then Arnos explained that he had all the memories that Izuku has had, so he knew All Might's secret and stuff. This All Might kind of understood easily, because if what Arnos said was true, it makes sense that he had all the memories of Izuku. Eventually, Arnos and All Might talked it out for a bit and came to the conclusion that All Might will cover for Arnos while Arnos tries to fix the mess that happened to his student. They eventually braked. All Might apologized for being late and said that Izuku had some issues that they needed to talk to about. Arnos got paired on a team with Uraraka as they were going against Bakugo and Ida. Arnos knew that even at 1% of his power, he should be able to easily decimate anyone that was here, and decided to prepare a single attack that could destroy the entire building, figuring that the students themselves should be good. Eventually, All Might said that his goal was to capture the bomb, not to destroy everything. Arnos, realizing that his actions might have been a little bit brash, reconsidered his choices as he began to move forward. He prepared himself to attack against Bakugo and them. He decided to use just a quick and simple ice spell to easily detach anyone else that had even a semblance of a chance to actually fight against him. He knew that Ida would probably be slower than him, and Bakugo most likely would be hot-headed and unable to make calm and rash decisions. Eventually, All Might said go. The entire building got frozen as soon as All Might said go, shocking most of the students. Arnos made sure not to freeze the actual students that were in there out of courtesy for, their well-being. Even though he knows that he really didn't care for any of the students, he knew that Izuku, the boy that he was currently possessing, did care for the students, and decided that killing them would probably not be a good idea, or even injuring them for that much of a statement. So eventually, Arnos had met up with Uraraka after going throughout the entire building, and they came up to the room with the bomb. Arnos opened the door to see Ida's feet being frozen in place, as him and Uraraka just walked up and touched the bomb, giving them the win. Everyone else was shocked by Izuku's pure feet alone, still only thinking that it was Izuku and not Arnos. Then again, Arnos didn't befault them for this, because they had only known Izuku, not Arnos. So he had figured that this was probably a common theme. He wouldn't think if it was someone else's work if he didn't even know the personnel that was working. Eventually, everyone else did their turns, and most of these situations ended pretty simply with either one team defeating the other or vice versa. Eventually, Arnos ended up chilling until Uraraka came up to him and said thanks for, freezing the entire building, and asked what ability did he use, because Izuku hadn't shown any previous abilities related to ice. Arnos, realizing that in this world that people were born with superpowers, realized that maybe just randomly using ice magic was not the best idea, and kind of rebutted himself for thinking that way. Eventually, Arnos ended up saying that, it wasn't much, and that he had only created it out of pure consideration and moment. Uraraka was kind of confused by Arnos' statement until Arnos eventually said that his quirk wasn't the ability to just allow him to increase his strength, but also allowed him to take an energy and reimburse the energy in any way he seemed for it. Which Uraraka thought that his quirk now was extremely better. And that Arnos was just Deku was just trying out new stuff with his quirk. Arnos calmed down, and eventually class let out. Aizawa was very confused by Arnos' abilities, until eventually All Might had to tell him. Seeing how Izuku was his student, he found it very useful to find out that his student, for whatever reason, was currently possessed, or not possessed, had his soul fused with a random guy from a different world, to his belligerent understanding. Still kind of slightly annoyed, though, by the pure fact of the matter. Eventually, Arnos made it back home and discussed things with his mother. His mother looked the same as it did when he had originally looked into Izuku's mind during the whole entire soul binding and dream process that happened. He also, when looked at himself in the mirror, noticed that there was multiple other souls inside him. Congruently, there was about around 8 different souls, with him and Izuku being 9 and 10 respectively. This caused Arnos to be quite confused about the reasoning why this boy had so many souls inside of him, or at very least the essence of other beings inside of him. Arnos decided that this would become a discussion for another day, as he would probably talk to All Might about it. Seeing how the man has proven to be reliable, Arnos figured it would be not an issue to discuss it with him. Eventually, he went to bed as he slowly started to drift off to sleep. And that's where we're going to leave it off, guys. If you liked it, hit the like button, and if you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button, and until next time, goodbye. Oh yeah, P.S. Oh, this is totally my bad. Thank you, Majinex, for the thumbnail. Yeah, sorry, my bad. I skipped totally past that at the start and just realized it before ending the video. So yeah, okay, back to what I was saying. Go check out his channel in the description down below. Hit it. Yeah. Goodbye. God.